Bob Arum was asked about Mike Tyson, and he said, a 58-year-old guy, no matter how good they were, no matter how athletic they were, are not going to be able to fight. You can't throw punches like you're supposed to. You can't do a lot of things. I hope Mike doesn't get hurt, but I really give him relatively no chance. You lose that muscle memory as you get older.
I kind of agree with him. A lot of people think of and they're kind of being swayed by some of the clips that Tyson team throws on social media when it's like good bursts of energy. But you kind of notice a lot of those clips, they don't go past a few seconds. I'm like, that's for a reason because Mike can't go longer than a few. But let's be look, even in his prime, what was one of the biggest knocks on Tyson? Guy doesn't have the biggest tank in terms of stamina. So
a lot of that was because he wasn't really training for these fights because he was killing these dudes in minutes. And even when he had to win, like you look at that second Holyfield fight. Now, some of that may have just been Holyfield mentally just destroyed him.
Mm-hmm.
But, Mike got in really good shape for that fight. I don't know if it was, just pro wrestler shape or not, or if he really was, banging it out in the gym. But, I'm sure he had some really bad habits because of how successful he was. And then you add to that, this dude hasn't had, he had the Roy Jones Jr. fight, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't a fight. I mean, they were kind of going at it it was almost like a sparring session.
Yeah, it was like a sparring session. Was that the last one that he had, or did he actually do another one after that?
If I remember correctly, I think that was the last one, and I think
did they never do the Holyfield fight?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember. I think there were plans. I think there had been after the Roy fight. Yeah, I think after the Roy fight, there were plans. There were plans to try to get Tyson in, but if I remember correctly, the story was, Tyson was not a big fan of the people that were kind of running the show. It was like it was a circus. He didn't want to get involved much with them. So I think the Roy Jones exhibition was the last time he was actually stepped into the ring. And
Vitor Belfort fight Holyfield or something like that.
Yeah, something like yeah. God,
those pandemic fights, man, some crazy.
Oh my God,
time.
I'm so glad it was a hell of a drug. I mean, remember one of those Triller circus fights. I remember one where Oscar De La Hoya was in there, and he was dude was sky high.
Yes.
And dude was unreal.
I remember that.
It was unreal.
And then there were moments where it seemed like Oscar himself was trying to get involved back in. Remember he had those pictures of him with his shirt off and he's throwing punches and he's got those old man fake abs on him.
Yeah, no one was buying that. No one was buying, Oscar seriously stepping into the ring, even in an exhibition fight.
Yeah.
So you put all that together, and the fact that Tyson hasn't fought a professional fight in almost 20 years, he's fast approaching 60 years old, and the last time he fought, he got decimated by Kevin McBride, and then just got shellacked by Danny Williams.
That was sad.
The last time he won a fight was Clifford Etienne. You know how that was 21 years ago. I was 8 when that happened.
Is there a possibility that he and Jake Paul have some sort of handshake agreement that they're gonna go 75%? What is let's say this. What does Jake gain by knocking out Tyson? Or does he gain anything by knocking out Tyson?
There is people that do believe Tyson's gonna beat Jake Paul, legitimately believe they're gonna beat Jake Paul.
Yeah, Tyson. If Tyson was to win this fight, I think the first thing that people would say is it was fixed. But the second thing would be that it's kind of like the Rocky Balboa story in a way where
Yeah,
the
well,
old man comes
Rocky.
back.
Yeah, where if you, yeah, where you he wins in the deleted in like the special deleted scene where he gets the decision over Mason Dixon. I'm so glad that was not the canon ending. I'm so glad. It's like
But like Tyson does have more to gain than Jake
yeah.
Paul in winning the fight. Jake is doing it because he is promoting, and he also has the undercard fight that is the real fight, and he brings the most eyeballs possible to that fight. It's pretty smart way to do it.
Mhm.
It's a freak show, but I do wonder, like, I think the worst thing in the world that can happen if you are a sports fan. Now maybe if you don't like Mike Tyson, or you believe Mike Tyson deserves, a bad ending in some way, maybe you'll find him getting knocked out poetic. But that is just going to be sad. Like, it's going to be a
Yeah.
sad ending for Netflix if Jake Paul is standing over Mike Tyson at the end of round 1 and Tyson's just knocked out. Like, I would rather see Tyson go out on his stool if he is going to go out. I think everybody would. But I just wonder, like, what is, like, if you're Jake Paul and you're putting this whole thing together, what do you think is the right ending to this? Just him retiring Tyson on his stool?
Yeah. I mean, I would think that Tyson retiring on his stool would probably be the best case scenario for him, because you can say that you know I stopped Mike Tyson, I retired him for good, but you also kind of leave a little bit of dignity for Tyson, not laying on his back and everything,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
you also
and the worst case is if Tyson's just knocked out cold like that. There's no way that Netflix wants that, I don't think.
I mean there is something to the image of a near 60-year-old man on a stool from a being by a guy less than half of his
That's
age.
like elder abuse.
But yeah, I mean, blame the Texas Commission
Yeah,
on
I
on that
mean,
one. Blame the Texas Commission, which, funny enough, not the first time they've let an elderly man who hasn't fought in many years fight fight a guy significantly younger, and it ended with the guy getting knocked out in like 1 or 2 rounds. It actually happened a few years ago, believe it or not. So, uh, you know, it is tough. It is tough because, like, at the same time, like, if this ends up being like a gigantic success, you obviously want to keep the momentum going with with your top boxing star, which being Jake Paul. And I'm assuming that, Jake would probably want to parlay the success of this event into doing more shows with Netflix, kind of like what he's doing with The Zone, where he's got, these like club level shows where he's just bringing some, prospects that he's signing and put them in showcase fights, which, they're entertaining fights. But obviously the money is clearly with Netflix, because of, the audience that they're going to get a bigger audience thanks to WWE going to going to Netflix. And I do think Jake Paul sees potential in that type of crossover, especially with his brother in WWE. There's a lot of crossover potential. So I think Jake Paul, I think he's going to try his best to dominate the fight. Knocking out Tyson Cold, I don't see that happening, because you know, I, I say that, but he's also knocked out a few MMA fighters much younger than Tyson and in better shape out cold.
yes.
So I don't know. It is tough. You do pose a really good question. But I think honestly, best case scenario is kind of how you laid it out. Just Tyson retiring on his stool. Which even then, that's still a little bit sad, because this guy was like the most feared man on the planet, and now you're seeing an old man just on his stool, not being able to continue. But I honestly can't see there being a true happy ending,
Yeah.
uh, because this is a man almost in his 60s. There's almost no way. Like, if this was pro wrestling, you can kind of script it in a way where you can book this in a smart way. But this is a boxing fight, so I don't know how you're supposed to kind of try to hope for the best ending. Whatever we get is whatever we're gonna get.